2013 Chevy Impala, 3.6 liter, no communication with TCM. I'm going through all my basic checks. We've got battery terminals, very important that they are tight. That'll shut it down. It's really weird, just the TCM, maybe some other codes. It's weird, but trust me. Common problem is the TCM connector plugs into the transmission on Chevys. That connector, it likes to chafe and it can shut it down. Next thing, this one had a bunch of spillage on the transmission where somebody tried to fill the transmission or something. Transmission fluid gets in that harness, that could be the problem as well. So that TCM is inside the transmission, but also you got your PCM and everything goes back to there. Check it out. Gray, black, blue. And inside the connectors, gray, black, blue. I think these two are going to affect your transmission if, you know, something is swapped around incorrectly or something like that. This has been Diag from somewhere else, and I could see that everything had been gotten into very lazily, like all the pegs are broken off the PCM and other things I've noticed. But first thing I do is pull this plug to the TCM, spray it down with electrical cleaner, and then use my air blower, make sure nothing's corroded, pop the black cover off. See right there, you can really get a view of all your wires. They all looked good. So now that everything's cleaned, those are on the correct position. Clean the terminals, made sure they were on there tight, a little loose on the negative, it needs to be replaced still. Pop everything back together. I got to pop that black cover on and then put the air box on right here. It covers up the PCM. We'll clear code, start it up, and see if that was the deal. They quoted her a new TCM inside there. Everything's all put back together. Key on. As soon as I turned key on, did you see it pop up stabilitrak like usual? Because I didn't. Never had to replace a TCM in one of these, and I've worked on a lot of them. A couple transmissions, but nothing too common. Oh, grease on my nose. So I said, get a second opinion. Come over here. Quick 5-minute scan. Maybe I'll point you in the right direction. I got a lot of other shit to do. But I've brought these back to life in a matter of minutes so many times from a broken wire on that connector that goes into the transmission. But then the other things to check. Battery, is it loose? Is it corroded? And then it goes to that power distribution box, all that. Check your comm lines. I did check for ground and power as well on the TCM connector. Good there. So if this doesn't perma-clear, then maybe I will be leaning towards a TCM. Never had to do one in these. And it's inside the transmission, has like little seals and stuff like that. But never had to do one on a 3.6 this year range Chevy Impala. Let's go to the scanner. Doing my quick erase and seeing what happens. Before, see those codes? They did not clear. We had passenger seat present system, and then we had the TCM no communication. So we go ahead, and now the electronic brake module, whatever, ABS or whatever, has cleared now. So I think what we did may have just fixed it. See, passenger presence module malfunction. All right, we're not too worried about that. But we cleared the TCM code. Before I cleared it, key on, engine off. Now we take it for a drive. It did not clear before. So all that wiggling, jiggling, cleaning out the harnesses, wiggling the wires, tightening the battery. One of those things, we attacked this code on all fronts all at the same time. One of those things fixed the problem. I see the other shop. I don't know what shop it is. And even if she told me, I wouldn't put them on blast. You know, you get whatever tech you get when you go into a shop with 5-10 technicians. And I could see that stuff had been into that little backing cap on the TCM connector was a bit loose. The whole thing seemed a little bit loose. I popped it into the correct grooves. It's nice and tight now. I mean, like I said, all those on the ECM, every one of those hold downs, pegs that it fits into are broken off but one. So somebody was pretty rough on their Diag, but let's go for a drive and see if we fix this young lady's problem for, $2,000 less. So little LEDs like this, that's how they flash and pick up on a camera. It's stupid, but that's how it is. She didn't have her Prendle. She had stabilitrak messages. It was all flickery. But now we are perfect. Shifted great going down the road. No issues at all. All right, looks like her front left tire pressure is at 27 PSI. So all her sensors are working. And that is the light she has on there. And then, of course, we have a problem. It could be wiring as well with the passenger presence module, but that's not going to cause drivability issues. So she's not worried about that right now. She just said, hey, will you put air in my tires while you're at it? And like one's at like almost 40 and one's at 27, one's at 30. So hot tip, if you didn't know it, every vehicle on the driver's side door jamb, if it's not missing the sticker and it's like after 96, right there, 35 PSI is what the manufacturer calls for. So I just asked her, what did that place quote you for the job? And she said $2,000. Hit it right on the nose. But that's kind of a Diag. I'm not sure. You know, removing, cleaning the battery terminals, wiggling the wires, making sure the harnesses were tight, clean, sprayed it out with electrical cleaner, then a blower tool. Put my camera down there where I couldn't see, looking for corrosion on all terminals. No corrosion found. Did the wiggle test on all the terminals. They all felt good. Put everything back together and bada boom. I think there might have been a little bit of trans fluid inside that connector, and maybe they didn't do the electrical cleaner spray out and then dry it out, blow it out like I did. If I had to guess, because I was pulling on the terminals, the ECM and the TCM connectors, and I couldn't find any loose pins, no bent pins. All the wires look good, no corrosion. So if I had to guess, the terminals were pretty clean. Nothing I would, on the battery, nothing I would think would cause that. I would say probably a little bit of transmission fluid seepage from whoever filled that transmission. The last thing to do is never trust somebody who filled a transmission up. So equalize her tires, check her trans fluid level, make sure they didn't screw that up, because some sort of hack job was in here at one point or another. But I'm gonna call that a repair. Not quite a Diag, because we didn't for sure figure out, but I'm pretty sure there was probably some trans fluid in there. It will conduct, trans fluid will, and scramble your CAN bus line. And she had said, like, sometimes it shuts off, but, you know, it's pretty much always on. You put it in reverse, it goes... It does all kinds of crazy stuff when the communication line's all messed up. So, follow-up, in conclusion, she said that light had came on, gone off, came on, gone off, and had the bad shifting, especially in reverse, engine thing. It was going on and off. Oh, it's Barry. What's up, Barry? Going to mow the church. When you first started up Orgo key on, the stabilitrak message has popped up. She said that's been on there every single drive for 3 weeks. This is the first time she hasn't seen it on in 3 weeks. If you went to clear the code, it would never clear because it was active, it was current. So clearing the code never got rid of it. So we actually did fix it. Normally, I'm super busy. This was supposed to be a 5-minute scan. I'll help you out. And, you know, my empathy gets the best of me sometimes. And so I spent 45 minutes checking every common spot because I've ran into this before. It's all about experience. I'm not a genius. I've just ran into it before. So I know everything to check. And like somebody else on the internet might run into something that would have took me a week to figure out, but it took them an hour because they've already been through it. It's experience. This will definitely help somebody on the internet. It's going to be on my YT as a, you know, a permanent how-to video. That's going to help a lot of people that can't afford $2,000 for a module when it's not even the module that's bad. That's a video. All right, follow-up to the follow-up. It happened again. So we didn't fix the problem, but now we got more info to be detectives. Before it wouldn't let her go over 50. She said it's not as bad now. She can go up to 60. I think maybe it actually is the TCM, but it could be a wiggly jiggly wire somewhere. So we put the scanner back on it, pull some more info. Also states check engine light isn't coming back on, which that's where the no communication with TCM was present, as well as the brake module. All right here we are in the engine control module. We have lost communication with TCM again, but check this out. Just from it sitting here at my garage for 10 minutes, think about it, it's cooling off, right? So check this out. I now have TCM communication. See that? Transmission control module was not popping up before. And the Prendle light came back on with key on, engine off, while, you know, it was sitting for 10 minutes. So we do have transmission control module back. We go over to electronic brake control module. It's probably going to be the same thing. They all talk to each other, the engine, transmission, and brake control module. So if it can't talk to the transmission no more, you're going to get that code on the engine and brakes. This is where the Diag's going to get really frisky, and I have ideas. So nobody's been inside the vehicle, wiggling wires, anything. So how come when she pulled up, it had no communication, and now it does have communication? As you're driving that transmission, it's getting hot, then it's getting cool. So it could be something on the TCM inside the transmission that's causing the problems. And it could be a wire. You hit a bump and, you know, it goes on, it goes off. You know what I'm saying? But I think it has to do with thermal expansion. Now, we took that plug out, put that plug back on, and that plug is on the transmission getting hot and cold, hot and cold. This is where we have to determine what's going on. Is it because of thermal expansion? I don't have time to mess with it anymore today. This is going to have to be a part tour, where as it gets hot, something loses connectivity. Could be a power, could be a ground, could be a communication wire. So what we need to do is we need to reproduce the error code, and it took her 5, 6, 7 miles for it to come back on. I'm really leaning towards something's getting hot and failing, because it doesn't make sense that the code would go away sitting around. I could see like a loose wire, corroded, whatever, you hit a bump, on, off with the trouble code. But it's just been sitting here, it's cooling off. All of a sudden that continuity comes back. Maybe there was resistance or something. A bad wire, whereas the wire gets hot, it's already compromised partly, and so as wires get hot, continuity efficiency, it just decreases. Maybe it's only getting 4 volts to this wire that needs 12 volts. So I've got a whole pile of cars. I already said, you know, I'll give you 5 minutes, and I've already given her an hour. Kind of fixed the problem. She can go faster. I think the check engine light, it just hadn't came back on yet. I would think with the TCM, no communication, it would pop up right away on the dash, but I'm sure it'll pop up next start or two. But it needs further Diag, and this will put a lot of people on the right track to just not jump to conclusions that the TCM is bad, and do all your testing. And we fixed the problem. We made it better. It's not active as frequently. Which leads me to believe there's something in the TCM that as it gets hot, there's a voltage drop or something. Could be connectivity, something's going on. Usually I see this a lot in modules when it gets super cold, like -10 degrees. Like you got a cracked solder point on a board, and when metal contracts, the colder it gets, and then you lose continuity. But we got more Diag to do. Don't have time for it today. This is a good start. We got a lot of information so we can kind of do our detective work. And this is how more complicated Diag goes. And it's what I try to stay away from, because I get so many calls for the quick stuff, you know, brakes and tires and mufflers and, you know, just easy stuff that's in and out, quick money. And you can be 10 hours into a Diag and like you can only recoup 3 or 4 of it, you know, without feeling like a bad guy. But now on the dash, we have something different, something we've never seen before. It says trans hot idle engine. Never seen that before. Prindle wasn't on when she pulled up, just stabilitrak and no Prindle. Now we have Prindle, but it says trans hot idle engine. Wiggled quite a few wires, cleaned out quite a few things, and by wiggling wires and cleaning wires and checking for looseness and corrosion, no corrosion found anywhere. We didn't mess with any ground locations or power sources, and we're getting different symptoms. So that TCM inside the transmission was never touched. We gotta have a wiggly jiggly wire or connection somewhere, and now we gotta find it. I just grabbed this wiring harness right here. I could not hold my hand on it. It was so hot. And it was sitting right up against the transmission like this. We need to bring this wiring harness out. It is very hot. Most people would not be able to grab this, but I have mechanic hands. So as she's driving it, I've ran into this before, especially with starter wires that have been rerouted around rerouted and a little too close to an exhaust manifold. True story. Every time they shut their car off at a gas station, they'd have to wait 15 minutes. Once that wire, that main power wire to the starter, got cool, it would start again because the heat built resistance and the starter couldn't pull the amps it needed to start the car. I think I might have just found the problem. Remember, all we did was wiggle and move wires, right, guys? So we put a zip tie or something. I don't know if it's missing a wire loom somewhere, but it's touching right up against, it was pressed right up against that transmission side pan. See, it's like a side pan. I think we pull that out of the way, and I think it fixes the problem because one of them wires, maybe it's slightly compromised or maybe it's fine, but it's getting so hot that now the current can't properly flow through the wire. Fuck you, Woodstock Township Hall. Trying to film a video. I think I found the problem. I think I found the problem, but now we got to test. We keep those wires off of that hot transmission. That wire bundle was way too hot. You grab onto it and you can't even hold on to it and you got tough mechanic hands. That's a problem. So we bring that wiring away from that heat source, clear the codes, drive it again for that 5, 6, 7 miles, see if it triggers again. We're getting somewhere because obviously we can see live data on the transmission now, and this will be vital. That transmission temperature is almost pegged out. I don't know if that sensor's reading correctly or if the transmission's actually that hot. It seems like the transmission's actually that hot. It is very hot. Check the transmission. It is overfilled. Yes, an overfilled transmission can, or an underfilled, cause excessive temperatures. I don't know. I'm not a transmission expert. You're going to have to ask Brandon about that on this particular Chevy transmission. So now we go towards leveling our fluid out after clearing the codes. Back at it. So it's too far up the transmission dipstick, about this far. Got the old oil extractor out. Pick your skinny hose, shove it down the hole, start pumping, and we'll suck some fluid out. And this did get a junkyard transmission. I was notified of that. And I'm not sure if the transmission, when installed, had 124,000 miles on it, or if the vehicle did. It's not real specific. I pulled about 3 quarts out of this transmission, and the transmission sitting here idling, stopped in for a little drinky poo. Not that kind, not Mr. Leahy kind. But anyways, we are bobbling between 208 and 210, perfect, right where it should be. Engine coolant temp at idle, 204, 206, right where it should be. Looking good so far. Let's do a little more highway driving and make sure everything is good. I just went for a 4-mile drive. Remember, the transmission fluid temperature was, it was probably well over 300, well over 303.8 to be able to display that dash message. So it was on its way to cooling off, and it was like 290 something. We're sitting here idling, driving. I kind of got on the transmission a bit, trying to get it hot. We're staying right at around 210 degrees. Nice and consistent. After sucking 3 quarts out, focus camera, we are still up to my fingernail, and we need to be right here. So we can probably take another quart out. Because we're not overheating on the trans anymore, that worked. So the problem was wires routed poorly, touching, like really pressed up against that hot part of the trans. Why was that trans so hot? It was way overfilled, probably 4 or 5 quarts overfilled. It was getting too hot. That'll burn up some stuff over time. What's funny is the other shop who is going to charge $2,000, they would have opened up that side pan, changed the TCM, and then once everything was sealed up, properly leveled out the transmission fluid, which would have took care of the overheating problem. And with the wiring harness coming off and you get a new seal and everything with it, or you should, the wires probably would have been moved further away from the transmission. So they'd be like, oh yeah, we fixed the problem. Good job, guys. It was a bad TCM. When the whole time it wasn't a bad TCM. It was a overfilled transmission with wires going to the TCM, touching the transmission that was getting too hot because it was overfilled. Now we have a Diag and a fix. Let's go. So about overall, hour and a half in labor, about $5 in materials, electronic cleaner, stuff like that. You know what's really cool about saving somebody who went to 2 other shops and said it was TCM, saving them, you know, they wanted $2,000. They were going to replace the TCM and PCM. I gave her a bill for $100. I charged $90 an hour. So that's a deal on top of a deal. Saved her $1,900. Lost my train of thought there. But anyways, what's cool about that is she, from now on, will refuse to go to any other shop but me. She saw how honest I was and was able to watch the whole process in real time. Like, that was really complicated, and you figured it out faster than them, and they misdiagnosed it. You got a customer for life. That's why I don't mind people looking over my shoulder and watching what I do, watching the wheels turn. She left here with a newfound respect for automotive technicians that actually do the Diag work and don't just fire the parts cabinet costing, you know, way too much for something that the problem wasn't. That's how you get a bad rep. If you don't have, you got to have at least one guy at your shop who's a real thinker. Not everybody's born with it. Everybody has their own niche. My son's great at art, you know, and stuff like that. That's why welding appeals to him. You can make lots of money. It's kind of an art form. It does also take physical skill, a lot of learning to be able to lay down those perfect pretty beads like Jamie can and I can't, because I'm not an artist. I'm a thinker. Think tank. She's just like a good technician that'll go through the Diag and save you that much money. Customer for life. See you guys.